I'm here if you need me, just reach out is something that a lot of men will hear whenever there's a news story about a guy no longer being with us. And, the thing is, it would make sense that, well, just reach out, tell me how you feel. The thing with that is it's a lot easier said than done for most men because not only were we taught to not talk about how we feel, even acknowledging that you feel things was and has been and still is in many circles viewed as a weakness. Now, I think most men know as we go through life, we have emotions. We do feel things. We do want to talk about them, and why this it's why the men's mental health series exists. Welcome to the conversation. Start the conversations and keep the conversations going. This is so men can start to open up with the people in their life that they do trust and feel comfortable with, and tell them how they feel and talk about their feelings and vulnerabilities and things of that nature. Now, notice I said who they feel comfortable with. That's a whole nother thing too, because this whole thing that we many of us, most of us, were not taught to actually do, which is feel the emotions we have, or even, before that, acknowledge that we have emotions. It's scary because we don't know who we can trust. And for many men, we have opened up, or at least attempted to at times. And it didn't go the way that we had hoped for a variety of reasons. Now, for a lot of guys, the easiest emotion to express is anger. And, expressing anger definitely it's a it's I think it's normal to feel, but it's a devastating, can be a catastrophic emotion if not expressed in a constructive way. And for many men, it just comes out almost like a volcano. Um, Not excusing that. Um, Everybody has to be able to work through their emotions. Before you can work through them, you've got to be able to acknowledge them. You've got to be able to feel them. And then you have to have the skills to know what to do with them. And this stuff is challenging. It's challenging for everybody. Um, my hope with us starting and having these conversations. So, like for the guys listening, men listening, I hope that you have one person in your life that you can open up to and be vulnerable with. I do hope that you find a therapist and that actually is a good fit for you. Doesn't mean that there's only that you have some sort of therapy soulmate where there's only one therapist that can work with you. But what it does mean is that there are going to be therapists that are better fits for you. Some are going to be better fits than others. And that is something to really consider when you try to go the route of therapy. And I think everybody, again, anybody listening to this should, I think, would benefit from having a productive working relationship with a therapist. Um, there's a lot of barriers to get to that productive working relationship. Even if you find the right therapist, it's going to take time to be able to trust them and to be able to open up. And when I say productive working relationship, I mean not only open up to them, but when they say something, they can call you out on your blind spots, the things that you don't want to see, or maybe you don't see about yourself, in a very disarming way. And you can actually not just talk about things, but have strategies to work through things and actually execute on those strategies. Um, but this stuff it's challenging because for so many guys, we were taught that emotion was weakness. And I don't think emotion is weakness. I think we need to know when and how to express it and who to express it with. And that, again, that's a challenge for everybody. But for a lot of guys, this is a completely foreign concept. It was for a very long time. Um, and I mentioned before that the guys have opened up at various points and it didn't go the way that they had hoped. And you absolutely, I think we all have stories of being judged, dismissed, seen differently, or rejected by friends, family, significant others. And this might have happened repeatedly. Now, the thing is, I believe when we when we look at our the connections and relationships that we have, there's different levels of access that people are going to have to us, and different things that people have access to us for, um, com- relative to other people in our life. And a lot of that is comes down to what we bring to each other's, what we bring to the connection, we bring to the relationship. And this isn't just romantic. This is your family. This is your friends. But if you don't know how to identify this, you can be trying to open up and be vulnerable with somebody that, um, you know, that isn't responsive to it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't belong in your life. It means that they probably shouldn't, at least at this particular point in your life, have that level of access to you for that thing. And that ends up being very kind of nuanced and kind of weighing the relationship and weighing, how much of a benefit of a doubt that you want to give somebody. And like, it's this whole back and forth dynamic that happens in every relationship, that, like, probably a lot of guys listening to this are like, what? Like, I don't want any of that, because we weren't taught how to do it. And there's going to be times where you do start to open up a little bit. You feel like this is a person you can open up with, and it doesn't go the way that you hoped. And you literally did everything as kind of like making sure that this was right and all this, and this is a level of access that you wanted to give. And oh, by the way, on the flip side, all of this stuff that I just said, somebody would make you feel by opening up. There's actually a really good chance that in somebody else's day-to-day life, you've made them feel this exact way. And you may not even, meant to do it or even know that you did it. Dynamics in relationships, all relationships, are very, very challenging and very tough. And we weren't taught how to do any of this. And I think for most of us, I know for me, initially when this stuff like started to come up and I started to be aware of it, I'm like, "Ugh, I don't really want any part of that." But here's the thing. Again, we were taught that being vulnerable and sharing emotion was a weakness. I would argue it's actually a really true sign of strength. If you know how to identify, acknowledge that you have emotions, identify the ones that you have, sit in them to process them, work through them, and then figure out how to best channel them, who to share them with, if anybody to share them with, if it's something that you can work through on your own. I mean, this takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice, and truly, it is a sign of strength. It's a type of strength that most people, not just men, but people aren't aware of. And it takes practice, and it takes putting yourself out there. It takes openness and vulnerability. Again, for any of the men listening, I want you to be able to have conversations with the people that are important to you in your life, to where you can open up like this, because I'm telling you, everybody needs people like this in their life. Now, for those of you listening or watching that are not men, this is so you can have conversations with the men in your life. Start the conversations, keep them going. I'm telling you, deep down, guys feel all this. We feel it. We may not be aware of it. We may be trying to push it down. We may not know what to do with it. And again, I want to stress, because we're going to probably talk a lot about anger, because that does seem to be an emotion that seems to be a default for a lot of us, before we realize that we have other emotions and that we can feel more than one emotion at once. You know, I'm uh, I'm a huge advocate for this stuff. I'm not a mental health professional. In a previous life, at a previous time, I probably would have gone to school to become a counselor. I went to school for marketing and advertising, which on one hand allows because marketing is about telling a story. Now, I don't like the way a lot of stories are told in the world we live in. I don't like what the fitness industry does. That's why with your level fitness, I'm trying to rewrite the narrative. I just want people to do all the stuff, but appreciate who they are inside and out at every single stage. This ties into that. And I started going to therapy about 5 years ago. I've worked with the same therapist for the better part of that time. I have taken some breaks here and there, and it's not just therapy is not just about someone to talk to. It starts out that way, but again, when you're able to open up and have the blind spots called out in a disarming way, that's productive. And I'll tell you, a lot of guys, we want solutions to things, I think. And this is something we don't necessarily think that again, we may not be aware that we need a solution for how we feel and all the stuff that we carry inside emotionally because we were taught that it was weak to have that. It's not weak at all. But when you're able to identify what's going on inside you and then and therapy for me is not it's more about the work that I can do in between the session because that's the thing. It's not like I just show up, because I see my therapist a couple times a month. So it's not like, you know, I just go and do that, and then I walk into therapy and everything's heavy. I walk out, I'm all light again. Wee. Actually, after therapy, a lot of times I'm exhausted because you let some of that stuff out. But the work really happens in between the sessions. But again, I think for a lot of guys, because we do it's kind of a stereotype, right? We want to solve the problem. Here it is. It's literally right there in front of you. And I'm a big believer in an inside out approach to life. How you feel about and view yourself on the inside as a person drives everything. Now, that applies when I talk about health and fitness because I mean a lot. Fitness is very while the benefits are about your quality of life. It's very easy to turn it very external, appearance driven, right? But like what really drives what you feel about yourself on the outside is how you feel about yourself on the inside. But think about everything else. Think about your work. Think about your relationships. Think about what you've allowed. Think about what you don't allow. Think about how you navigate things. And every bit is going to be nuanced, because when we're dealing with feelings, emotions, connections, and relationships, there's usually not a clear answer. And even if there is a clear absolute answer, there's a lot of nuance that went into that. So this isn't about mental health buzzwords on one side or the other. It's about finding the middle, where's the context in the middle? So much of our lives is about what's in the middle. And that's what I truly believe when it talks to navigating, when it talks about navigating our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. I think it's going to look a little different for each and every one of us. And and again, I think some of these buzzwords get overused. Safe space. It's probably one. A lot of guys probably gonna be like, I need a safe space. A lot of guys will hear that and be like, what are we talking about? Just want somebody to talk to. Do you have somebody you can talk to? Do you have a buddy you can talk to that you can actually be open and honest and vulnerable with? And they can say, hey, man, I understand exactly what you're going through. Or do you legit have a group of friends that are just going to bust your balls on everything you say? Right? Like, I get it. But here's the thing. Even when everybody's cracking jokes, even when everybody's going back and forth, underneath all that, guys are feeling things. Lots of things. Not all bad things either. There's a lot of good feelings, a lot of good emotions. Been missing out on those too, right? It's okay to feel things, man. It's been in there the entire time. You've been trying to push it down. You got to be able to figure out how to navigate, how to work through things. But it's okay that you feel things, feel stuff. Yeah. Um, and even again, you'll hear me say this a lot. There's no excuse for angry outbursts. There's no excuse. Anger is a natural emotion. We got to work through it. We got to look at some of the other emotions that we're feeling at the same time. Maybe that's a better way to channel it. You know, a lot of times people will say that the gym is their therapy. Now, I got a whole nother podcast series and video series dedicated to that on the Your Level Fitness channel, because I think you need both. But here's the thing, the gym is an amazing outlet for emotions and feelings. When you've worked through things and processed it, and you're like, I just need to get this out. I think moving your body is a great way of doing it. And hey, the gym helps you do that. And I'll tell you, man, when you dig into this stuff, at first, it's really heavy, it's really hard. You're going to be exhausted and you're not going to want to do it. It may take a long time. It might be months, even longer, before you start to feel some relief because you got so much packed inside you. It's not one of those things that you just go to therapy. Oh, I went to therapy and now I'm good, I'm cured. It's not like that. You gotta work through it. Gotta work through stuff. But here's the thing: once you are able to start working through stuff and you let go of some of it, the heaviness that you may not even be aware that you're carrying to the full extent, some of that will start to go away. You will start to feel better. I believe in that for you. You know, I know with these, whether you're watching the video or you're listening to the podcast, um, this topic can be very heavy. My hope through anything that you watch or listen to is that you're just able to start to acknowledge what you feel and have these conversations. Because I'll tell you what's really rough is when you feel like you have to do all this alone. And the lone wolf stuff, guys, doesn't work. Not in the long term. I understand the logic of wanting to do it, especially if you've been burned by people before. But it's not helping. It's not helping. So that is what I have for you. Now, if you're listening on the podcast feed and you like what you've heard, go ahead and subscribe. If this is your first time listening, and then please share this episode with anybody else that you think would benefit from hearing it. If you're watching on YouTube and this is the first time, welcome. Glad I tripped your algorithm. If you like what you're seeing, go ahead and subscribe. Also, YouTube, depending on how long it takes me to wrap this up, they're going to be showing you another video from my channel that they think you might want to watch. I want to go ahead and check that out as well. But we're gonna do some good with this stuff, guys. We're going to really, we got to drill down. We got to talk, but we got to be patient with ourselves while we do it. But I can tell you, I mean, like, you probably got a lot of stuff built up inside you. You can work through it. I believe in you. I know you're going to be able to do it. So that is what I have for you. So thank you as always for listening and watching. And I'll talk to you again real soon.